not a great piece of kit. I think I can probably epoxy it back in, but it's not the most ideal thing in the world.
AliExpress do one-piece handlebar and stems. They're very cheap, and well, I have bought one here for this bike. Really, I needed to know, if I bought one, can you actually use them, and are they safe? So I've got one in my hands right here, and it is a replica of the Roval Rapide one-piece bar and stem. Now the reason that I have this one is because it matches or replicates the real one that I have on my Tarmac SL7, so I feel like I can give it a better comparison. But I'm going to chuck it on this bike right here, which I'm quite proud of, by the way. Custom painted it myself. If you want to see a video of that, I'll put it in the link below. Whilst buying the handlebars, I also chucked in a couple of other things from AliExpress. I bought in the out front mount, which replicates the SL8 as well. And finally, I've bought some, well, once again, a replica Supercaz bar tape. The original stuff is very good, so I like it. Let's see if the fake stuff can match up for like just £5. Here is what you came here for. This cost me, I believe, £76 from AliExpress and took, well, a week to come. And this is all you get in the box for the packaging, so nothing special. But there it is. It's, well, kind of looks like the real thing, as you would expect. There's a few things that don't look quite as good, so if I get you up close here, you can see that on the normal one it has this kind of like ribbed surface here, and you can see the edges of that, whereas you can't see the edges of this on the original one. I'm going to overlay B-roll or maybe some side by side next to each other. On the front here, this one is shiny. I guess they wanted to show off their fake Roval, whereas on the original it's just very dark. Once again, I'll show an overlay for you. On the back here, this actually looks kind of fairly sleek, where it's shaved into the shape of the handlebar, so that's actually kind of nice. Let's see if these go up well. I'm definitely not over tightening these, using a torque wrench on this thing for both shifters themselves and of course for the clamp onto the stem. It does come with spaces for some sprint shifters, so if you want to use them, that's actually just exactly like the original as well. And you can see here exactly where the cables come out, just like the original, where the cables run through here underneath and they tuck in back down to the stem there. This one is 110mm with a width of 400mm, so that is exactly the same as I have on my other bike, on my SL7. It also comes with tons of spacers, but I'm not going to be using these because I'm on a round one-piece bar and stem. So far, this little top cap bit, well, doesn't slot in as smoothly as the original one, but it's not too bad as a whole. It's yeah. I have indeed weighed this in. So the original one, the real version for the exact same size, comes in at 320 grams for the one-piece bar and stem, plus bolts on the back as well. This one comes in at 360 grams. I've got the original bars here, and these come in at, with the stem, at 400 grams, bang on. So there is actually a bit of a weight saving, a nice saving of 40 grams for, I'm going to argue, for something that actually looks a lot better. So let's see how it tests in the long run. So a 40 gram increase in weight compared to the real version, which I suspect they've probably put a bit more carbon in there because of rigidity regions, and of course probably quality in the layup of carbon. The real Roval's probably a lot higher. One thing just standing here though, these, they do feel stiff. So I'm looking forward to using them on the bike themselves, whilst also being nervous at the same time. Let's not go into any further about the details. Let's get this thing on the bike and we can give it some tests. Well, the bars are on and here they are next to each other. The only teething problem that I really had was it was very stiff to get this on here. So I think obviously that's just like a quality control kind of thing. But once it was on, just very tight. Other than that, once again, the main differences you can see is the little mini Roval versus a much bigger but less obvious Roval there. The top cap doesn't quite sit as flush as the original one. Final thing is that on the Garmin mount here is, well, I can only describe it as slightly erect. Let me get down to a side view for you there, and yeah. I guess that's what you get when you buy these pieces. I'm sure I can find a way to make that flat. If you have any ideas, let me know, because I would rather that be at a flat angle with the bars. The final thing is that this left shifter does move very slightly if you put some good force through it. So I'm just going to tighten that up slightly more than I want to, from 5 to 6 Newton meters, but that hopefully should be okay. The bar tape itself though, I can't complain too much. For £5 for this stuff, it was stretchy. I've bought some other stuff from AliExpress and it did not stretch, but this did. It also feels more similar to the original. It's got a bit more tackiness to it, so that is very, very useful. Quite impressed with that for just £5. Okay, there we are on. It was mostly faff free, thankfully. Feeding the cables through was easy enough, and like I said, the only stiff bit was pressing it onto there in the first place, so not too bad at all. As you probably saw a little bit earlier, I ran the stack height a little bit higher because this is my winter bike. This is my summer bike. I like it a little bit lower. I've made my way over to a very windy Richmond Park to give these their first test. Guys, throughout the rest of this video, I've made a mistake and I didn't bring my fluffy mic, so the wind noise is pretty bad. Please forgive me on this one, and I'm going to be chiming in from here to give you more updates.
Well, let's talk about the functionality of the bars. Same really, as you would expect from something that's pretty much the exact same shape. Even the knobbly bits on here, they do give you grip and a slight dampness that we've got right now. They're not as grippy as the real thing, but they do work. One thing I will note though was that these actually have like a reverse flare on the handlebar. I think that's a quality control thing. So the bar ends down here turn themselves inwards rather than outwards. I'm not dead yet. Definitely a purchase I regret is this out front stem. I think it cost me like 22 quid and it's not doing well. I mean, like I said, it's slightly erect and it doesn't want to sit there properly either. So I'm gonna have to find another solution for that.
Another thing you can see right here is that I've literally just taken off the front mount. Yeah, it's almost like this bolt has been pulled outwards. It still feels pretty damn sturdy in there.
And quite literally, as I was just tightening it up to put it back on, I just had a little spacer in there to try and make it flat and level.
It has pulled itself out. Yeah, look at that. You can see all the way through now. Not a great piece of kit. I think I can probably epoxy it back in, but it's not the most ideal thing in the world.
Righto guys, here's the plan. So I've got a 2-part epoxy putty here, so you can quite literally mold it into the shape that you want. You just mix even parts black, even parts white, and it's going to make a black epoxy putty. I'm then going to put that around the insert here, squeeze it in there, and because there should be some stuff behind it, it's also going to let me level this out. But I just need to sand this face down first to make sure that it sticks properly. Right, you can see where we're at here guys. It's the botch of all botches, but it's the best I've got. I'm sure many of you will have better solutions. I've had to put quite a lot in there, and I've had to set the bike up like this because otherwise the stem was just sinking down with gravity because this was still too soft. It's amazingly hard, this stuff, and well, from a distance, yeah, you can't really tell. When I put my Garmin on, I've got the biggest, heaviest one there. The flex is actually only coming from the plastic that's in that head mount, but it feels rock solid on there. So let's give it a spin. I've done a few rides on these bars now, and my botch job is holding itself up well. It seems to be holding my Garmin just fine, and almost feels more solid than when the original bolt was on there. So it's quite amazing, this milliput stuff. Not the best thing in the world, but it works.
One thing I will give these handlebars is they've actually got the stiffness. So if you get out of the bars and sprint, you can feel there's power going through them. I'm still concerned for my safety, but yeah, they kind of work.
When it comes to comfort, I actually couldn't tell any difference really between the new ones and the original ones. It's even on the like washboardy, bumpy UK roads, they actually felt kind of the same in terms of comfort.
When you do go over the bumps on this thing, the sound is a little bit louder. I don't know if it's because it's maybe more hollow, but yeah, it feels like it echoes a bit more in there and makes a bit more noise when you go over the bumps. Not to a bad amount, but it is noisier. I have been trying to abuse these handlebars a little bit. I've been going over the bumps and the potholes and the speed bumps and stuff fairly hard.
Just to try, and if they do crack, I'd rather them crack on ride 1. When you get back to the original handlebar here, you can really feel and see the difference in finish quality to the actual product itself. And probably the most important thing when you get back to the real thing is you don't think about it breaking all the time. So like I said, I can't recommend the cheap version just because of that one reason. Essentially with the riding, I just don't feel safe on here. So post that video, I've done 3 rides on here now, and honestly I just can't recommend them just because I don't feel safe on them, and you just don't know what's going to happen. Essentially I'm going to keep them on there for longer, so same again, keep an eye on the description if there's any updates. But yeah, the second thing I can report is the more I've used these, like I said, I've done 4 rides on them now, I'm kind of getting more confident on these bars, and probably not a good thing to be overly confident on them. Still not going to recommend them to you just for that safety aspect. But yeah, they seem to be holding up for me.
This bar has definitely elevated the looks of this bike. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I find a one-piece bar and stem
very attractive. It really elevates the look of the bike here and, well, brings it more on par with the more modern bikes that we have out there nowadays. I do believe, and I'll say this quite frequently, that if you know your position and you're comfortable with it, you can generally commit to that one-piece bar and stem, especially because nowadays we tend to run the bars like flat and horizontal, or we run the shifters horizontal anyway on the bars. So unless you have a specific bike setup position, you can pretty damn well commit to that one-piece bar and stem, and like I said, I think it looks better. Another thing I'd like to point out is you'll probably need a wind tunnel to verify this, if this is true or not, but because the cables come out from underneath here in the middle, it also puts the cables in front of the frame here, so it means that they're in front. I suspect it will be slightly more aero, just a smidge, but something else to add on top there.
If you've used some carbon handlebars, bought some really cheap ones before, let me know. I know Trace Velo has not recommended them because he's just had some that have cracked on him. So I'm interested to know if you guys have any experience buying these cheaper ones.
So yeah, let me know what you think, or if you've had a bad experience. Anyway, I've been Jason, this has been Cycling Unboxed. See you in another video.